It is a tragedy, but for some, it's not enough of a tragedy. Something's missing. Are you surprised to find out that some are pushing for conspiracy theories to be sprinkled onto the tragic story of the Titan submersible being lost? And it's not just the usual suspects. Donald Trump Jr. tweeting, literally everything I've seen about this missing submarine is insane and sketchy AF. Almost none of it makes any sense whatsoever. How long till we find other external factors making it even more so? The cool thing about saying something like that is if no external factors are ever found, there will be no consequences to you whatsoever. You can just say crazy things with no evidence whatsoever, and there will be no punishment whatsoever. None of it makes any sense whatsoever. What exactly are you talking about, you moron? It was a largely unregulated submersible that lots of people thought was likely to fail that failed. That sucks. That's tragic. I don't like living in a chaotic world where things like this can happen, but it makes sense. And it's not just Don Jr. Before you jump in, this individual who's like a crypto person on Twitter with 600,000 followers says the submarine thing is suspicious. It seems very far-fetched that a bunch of billionaires would take such a risky trip to check out the Titanic ruins. I mean, surely they have more pressing things to do as billionaires, and now they've disappeared. Sounds like an escape plan. And that was one of many tweets asserting not just the possibility that something else is going on, but the certainty that something else is going on, that they weren't actually on that. They were escaping for taxes or pedophilia or whatever, or they were on it and they were being killed by the government and it wasn't an accident. Just like, I understand that there's a lot of suspicion about things that go on in the world. It's a chaotic world. There are people with a lot of power and money. Not everything has a conspiracy behind it, is what I would say. And why have we become so accepting of making massive, confident claims with zero evidence whatsoever, Brett?
There's this Yiddish word, it might be Hebrew, I don't know, called dayenu. It would have been enough. It would have been enough, but it got better. I want people to kind of take a version of that like, it is enough. I know it's really cool to think that everything's a conspiracy theory, but this isn't, if you want to satiate that part of you that really needs this salacious, crazy story, this is the story of a submersible that a guy said, oh, I'm breaking all the rules on how to make it. They say you shouldn't make it at this or it'll implode, and it imploded. That if you're just devoid of the humanity it takes to understand the tragedy of the loss of human life and all the nuances thereof, and then just relish the fact that this was a perfect story for you. Be like, they think they know everything. And it's so weird to me what they choose to allow to be enough and where they settle in their like billionaires are crazy story and they're all part of the deep state. Like they just, if it's easy, if it's the most obvious conclusion, well, that's boring to them. And so people like, they need to come up with more. And it's like, maybe your life's just boring. But with Donald Trump Jr., I think the reason nothing makes sense to him is not because the facts aren't there. It's because he's too stupid to comprehend them.
I think you might be onto something. But also outside of the individual, so I don't know the minds of either of these two people or the many other people saying stuff like it. I'm sure there's videos on TikTok getting millions of views asserting that it's something to do with Wookiees or something insane. But also it's convenient to train people to believe that there's a conspiracy behind everything. You cannot allow a story like this to simply move on without injecting conspiracy, because you are seeding the ground for future conspiracies. You want people to believe insane things and to not trust anyone in a position of expertise or authority. And then that will pay dividends later on when, say, a pandemic hits or the former president is charged with a crime. Well, if you believe that these billionaires were disappeared or whatever, then maybe you believe that Trump is being set up.
Right, they talk about the woke mind virus, but this kind of behavior is a mind virus. The difference before social media is everybody was quarantined. Like, did you ever go talk to like a random person or someone in your family at Thanksgiving? For millennia, if you talk to them, they'll be like, yo, the water's turning, the frog's gay. They just didn't have the chance to like all glom together into this mass that now has become a critical mass that has done to Twitter what happened to Dig, what happened to Reddit for a while, where it all just turned into weirdos that are now at least before there was like television to be boring and appeal to the least common denominator as like cross-reference through sponsors. It never really got to the crazy thing. But now that is the front-facing influencer, is social media, where enough weirdos who are like, listen, they're just disappearing billionaires, except the ones that I've arbitrarily decided to like.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.